I'd like to call Jason and Dwayne up to the stage, as well as our panelists, Leif Erickson from Aviva, Kelly Kinghorn from Revisions, Carl Gould from Bedrock Automation, and joining us will be Jeff Adams from Evonik. Thank you, Marcello, for that example of digital twin in the real world and how you're actually using it in maintenance and operations and also in the value chain with the traceability report. I think that's really unique. So thank you very much. Okay, now everyone's getting cold feet and they're disappearing and no one wants to ask a question. Why is that? Does anyone have a question? There's one over here. First, before I ask that question, Jeff, you're just joining us here, and perhaps our audience over there can't even see you, but can you share what Evonik is doing in this regard about IT, OT, ET convergence from your perspective as an IT expert?
Well, yes, I can. And that's interesting that I'm in the middle of the transition myself from IT into OT. So it's, I'm living a lot of what we're talking about now. So this is a very effective sessions for me. From the examples I saw on here, we are implementing some pilots with virtual reality and augmented reality to give that worker in the field more education, more information, so we can have central experts support those persons with the, with troubleshooting, with problem resolution, and those are active initiatives right now within Evonik. So.
Great. Well, you're in the right place then, sir.
Yes, this question is for Dwayne. Do you think you could have been successful with your digital transformation without having an operational excellence program?
Can you actually hear me there?
Or you could use a handheld.
Use the mic? Okay.
Yeah, that's a super question. I think you can, and like I mentioned earlier, we're actually in that digital transformation journey now on bits and pieces. The thing you got to think about is it's sustainable. And without having a good solid base of asset information, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, it's great to have a mobile worker with a pad out in the field. You can't bring up the you can't bring up the right drawing. The drawing's not right. You don't actually have the procedures. It doesn't load up. So, it's critical to get that sweet spot for the work that they're actually doing in the field. So, yeah, it can be done, but it won't be sustainable for very long, and it probably won't last very long.
Anybody else have a comment about that?
Yeah, I'll comment on that. Can you hear me? Good. Hello? Yeah, there we go. Leif Erickson with Aviva, and I've been in this industry, if you will, for a long time, 33, 34 years on the user side for 15 years, and then as a vendor as well as an analyst and a couple of times. And I want to reinforce the point that Dwayne made, which is that we're in a really exciting time now. The technology barriers to getting to where we want to get to, you want to get to in your organizations, are really falling down at a very rapid pace. But the biggest challenge to IT, OT, ET convergence and integrating data and providing what I referred to when I was an analyst as the perfectly predictable assets and operations, which I know the CEOs of all of these organizations, that's their goal, that's the holy grail. It's as much cultural and organizational as it is about technology. And so that is going to be our biggest challenge going forward, is to overcome those cultural issues. We talk about the democratization of data, but if our culture and our organizational structure doesn't allow us to share and use that data more widely, then we're not going to get the value from it, regardless of the integration.
Good point. Anyone else like to chime in? No? Okay. How about from our audience? Any? Oh, all the way over here. Oh, wherever.
Well, yeah.
Over here, Dave.
Sorry, I missed it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chris Sanchez with ABB, and some of the questions that I had from the learning track regarding the digitalization and the transformation was, how are you guys capturing the return on investment. At the end of the day, investing in these systems requires funding, requires controlling costs. At the end of the day, the organizations change. You have to hire new people. You have to create new groups. Means, somebody's going to have a salary for that. So how do organizations deal with the financials and comparing them with the return on the investment of, maybe you're getting faster time to market, but these new systems also are going to need to be maintained. They're going to have a life cycle, just like anything else. So how did you capture that into your strategies, and how are you seeing revenues?
Okay, volunteer.
And maybe take a first shot at that. I mean, that's a really good question, and asset information is even more difficult than when you get into the digital transformation space. But we actually we had to actually refresh our business case on the asset information. But what we looked at is in terms of risk mitigation, and we made a case for you can't move to digital transformation unless you actually have this technology in place. And that's not just about the documents, it's about the engineering design tools. It's about a tool agnostic data hub that you can bring in the engineering data to actually leverage into digital transformation, GIS, 3D model, things like that. So it's about risk for us on the asset information, but we actually have a very formal business case process that we actually have to follow and justify our capital expenditure. So it is part of the business, and that's why I said it's really important to involve the business in the field. They actually have those answers. You talk about how much time do you actually spend doing some of this stuff, and they'll tell you. They'll tell you what the problem is. They'll tell you where the business value is, and then you've got to put the story around it.
I'll take a stab at that one too. As Kelly Kinghorn from Revisions, just a really brief introduction for Revisions. Revisions is a specialty management consulting company that worked with owner-operators around their asset information and asset management programs to help them achieve their digital transformation goals. We've been around about 18 years. We've been about 90 people and growing. Work a lot with Dwayne as far as his program at Suncor. But one of the things that we've come to learn over the years is as you're embarking on that digital transformation and what that means to your organization, one of the first things you need to go through is that whole vision. Where does that organization want to get to? What in engaging with those end users? What's important to them? What adds that business value? But as part of that vision and that strategy is that ROI, that business value proposition, and importantly along that journey is how do you define and what are those KPIs along that journey that you can continuously go back to and help demonstrate those business victories and those quick wins. Right? You need to be able to, the organization needs to see those incremental and progressive benefits through this journey that Dwayne refers to. So I think that's really important. The very onslaught is that education, buy-in from executive leaders and your end users, quite honestly, to make sure they understand what that is and what they're going to get.
Anyone else? Something to add? No?
I'll just add to that. And again, in a long experience of going through this from various different sides, you absolutely need executive buy-in. I think all of you would agree to that, right? If it's not coming from the top, it's not going to happen because this is a major change. These are major investments, as you pointed out, and without that commitment from the top, it's not going to happen. So that's the starting point.
Yeah, so you need to convince them because they control the purse strings. So you need to get the money.
Right, and as you notice from the quote from the CEO of Italpress is they're all in, right? 50% of their investments are going to go into this area going forward. Their R&D investments, that is.
I think the one thing just to add to that executive leadership buy-in is it is the purse strings, no doubt about that, but they are that influence of change, like that top down, that bring your organization along. If you have that executive leadership buy-in, that change is gonna be a lot easier for your organization, right? As you bring those people along in that journey, if they have that executive leadership support, it makes a big difference in how fast and how you can overcome those cultural barriers.
Just to comment on that too, our CEO actually made a statement at the last AGM that we're a technology company, just happen to be producing energy. and that really resonated with me. So it's at the top of the house. The other statement we're making is we're actually spending $5 billion over 10 years in this digital transformation space. We're on the hook to deliver $3 billion of that in the first 5 years. So, and that's coming right from the top of the house. So there's people are actually running around figuring out, okay, how are we actually going to do this?
We're spending probably closer to $500 over there. But you can. Well, that's the thing. And we are digitally transforming. Our industry, water, wastewater, we're probably a little bit more nimble, actually. We're able to push changes faster. But I want to talk about what you're saying with getting that buy-in from the top. It's been exceptional for us. We're able to do these very small projects, but we're doing them for our admin. So something like a 15-minute proof of concept that actually gets a dashboard working for our administrators is allowing them to come back and open up and say, hey, you can have $500 more. So finding those little quick wins is something that helps to get that buy-in from the top.
Well, some of your stakeholders, their lives are at stake here. With that flood or something, you have a very different set of stakeholders than a corporation, mind you.
That was for the public, and that was a big drive for us.
Yeah.
That pushed us to have to respond.
I'll bet.
So I think that the starting, maybe we have to change the starting point. We don't have to do digital transformation, but we start from our needs. So we experience in Italpress continuous feedback from the field that brings some needs. And we found digital transformation the way to solve these needs. So I think it's other point of view.
Okay. How about
Just
from
one more comment on that was just connecting to the why and keeping the solutions matched to that. It's not about the the neat gee whiz solution. It's about how that can bring competitive advantage to reality. So.
I would also just add that digital transformation isn't like an all or nothing kind of thing. It's not binary. So pick some low hanging fruit. Pick a tool that lets you make rapid prototypes. In my experience, when you make a working prototype, it pretty quickly becomes the tool that people use if it delivers value, and you can move on. And I think you mentioned on how do you maintain these things. I think that's a really important point as well. You do need to build on a technology platform that you're comfortable that you can maintain in the long term. If it gets too custom, too complex, that maintainability is going to become a big problem in the near future.
Jason, in your example, how long did it take the admin to accept that proof of concept and implement it? About as long as it took you to develop it?
That was same day.
Okay,
As quick as we had it working, they believed the data that they were getting.
There you go.
And then they said, okay, we want to push forward with this. And within a week, we had rolled it out to a mobile deployment using the same software. I have some 7-inch desktop touchscreens, which are sitting on the desk of some of the key people that have to monitor the lake. And I mean, within a couple weeks, we truly had this project solid and done.
Not many folks can say that. Here. How about from our audience? Any other questions? Any volunteers? Victims? We got one. Don't worry, you won't get off that easy, if you don't ask a question, because I've got some.
Okay, I'm Rob Bergman with Bedrock Automation. Thanks to all the speakers, really enjoyed your talks. This question's for Dwayne specifically. Talked about, obviously, the criticality of current and trustworthy asset information. I didn't see anything about security on any of your slides. At Bedrock, we do cybersecure industrial control systems. So I just wondered what's Suncor's cybersecurity strategy? And you talked about standards. What are the security standards that Suncor's following? Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. No, I didn't have anything in there, and I kind of, being a big organization, I got the luxury of depending on my IT department. So I work really closely with them. We do have a cybersecurity standard, a group of people that actually manage it, and all the architects and the IT side of it and how they bring it together. So it's a complete team effort and how we work together. So it's nice that I don't have to get too educated in that area, but they keep us on our game.
Any other comments from the panel about the cybersecurity aspect of all of this?
I can't resist. Hi, Rob. So full disclosure, we actually used a Bedrock device for our project. For our rapid deployment, we put that on a zero trust public network and said, yeah, we're willing to try that this security is strong enough to do it. Now we've gone back, we're actually adding a live camera and doing a lot of stuff for the public. And to secure that, we're firewalling the whole thing in VPN tunnels, and then now IT's involved. So it's not rapid anymore. But from a cybersecurity standpoint, that was a critical thing for me when we're actually changing our platform because we are putting cyber as a priority. So our specs are going out with cybersecurity being a priority to our controllers and our networks. So it is a big deal for us.
If I could just add here that I think it's a balance between the risk and the benefit. So maybe your time to value might be a little bit less, but if you feel that you're delivering it securely, I think that's the equation. Which is more important? And if the cybersecurity is really more important, then that's what you have to look at.
Rob will buy me a drink for this, but we were able to do both. we got it fast and secure.
Okay, well, there's a good plug for Bedrock, if I ever heard one. How about anybody else? Everybody's got their thinking caps on today.
This is a question for Marcello. Out of curiosity, and looking at the video that you shared, looks like there was a lot of detailed work that went into the 3D models, the digital twins. With all of those specifications, how long did it take to develop an effective 3D model that was workable?
Okay, let's start from the point that we build the machine, so we have the project, the 3D CAD project complete. We do a work of, we make the model lighter before make the digital twin, and I guarantee it's not a long time job. So we are at the starting point of this project because we have delivered few AMI for now, and we are going to work with Aviva to speed up the modeling. But in any case, it's not a big. It takes not a long time for now.
I'll just make a comment on it. Yeah, it really depends on the industry you're in, right? And whether you do have the 3D models. As Marcello said, they're building the machines, so they're using 3D models to build the machines. In some cases, and I know this is probably true for Dwayne and also Jason, they may have assets in the field that they don't have any models on. The good news there is that you can use laser scanning today to create those models, and it's it's not cheap, but it's pretty cost effective, and it's getting cheaper all the time. The tying of the data depends on what kind of data you want to tie to it. But again, as Jason pointed out, that doesn't actually have to be that costly as well. So it's really about scope and scale, the objectives, et cetera. But the technology is getting faster, cheaper, easier to pull together.
I want to add just a sentence. We build machines that are quite the same each other. We have different sizes, we have different options, but by the way, for our business, we can have a common base where we develop every single machine.
Yeah, that's for us. That's a good question as well. Where we're most mature in our asset information across our enterprises, where we actually had a major debottlenecking project that went in, so the EPCs handed us over a completed model. or we built something from scratch, greenfield, again, EPC handed over a 3D model. We got a lot of sites that we don't actually have it. We are looking at the laser scanning and how do we may not have per se a 3D model, but we can do is a laser scan and bring in a database, bring it into the hub, and then use that information. We got some groups and pipelines don't even actually want to even work in a 3D model. There's not a lot of equipment, but they like the GIS, the geospatial. And then how do you integrate the smart plant intelligent P&IDs to that data so everything is there? So, it comes back down to that problem you're trying to solve and the business value you're trying to create for wherever site you're at.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay. Audience? Yes? Okay, while Dave is making the trek, I'll put this question to the panel. We have a variety of experiences and industries and maturities here, company maturities. In your opinion, to each of our panelists, do you believe that the digital twin is for everybody? Is it an appropriate target for companies that are low on the maturity scale? So please discuss.
I'll try to take that one there first. My opinion is I think every owner needs to embark on some digital transformation and some journey to that digital twin. What that is, I think we've seen through the course of this week, it means something different to everybody, right? What transformation is, what that digital twin is, it does change. It's not one size fits all. I think that's the main thing out of this week. But I think all organizations need to set that high level of wanting to achieve something that's truly transformational within their organization. But with that being said, I think there's a lot of recognition that along that journey, there's a lot of value to be gained during that journey. If you're a low, and coming back to Dwayne's slide there, where you're maybe lower on that maturity, level 1, level 2, more document centric, not a lot of systems or cultures, not maybe all that refined, but you want to get up to that level 3 and 4. Along that path, there's a lot of benefits and advantages to those end users. And if you continue to deliver on that, your culture and your people will come along with that journey. As long as you have a roadmap and a strategy, you communicate that out, and you have those KPIs along the way, you really need to do that. The other part, again, I'm going to cheat here a little, Dwayne, and kind of build off of your pieces, but you can go up that maturity model, but if you don't have the information and that complete, compliant, consistent, accurate, accessible, and trustworthy, all that information technologies you're overlaying on top is all for none. You need to make sure that information is at a point that it's structured enough that you can get access to and that the end users believe in it and trust it, right? And that's where that asset information foundation is so critical in that foundational element of moving you along that journey, right? It isn't about technology. Technology is the enabler. The people, the culture, and the information is really the key to that, quite honestly.
I'll follow that because I actually agree with something you said, that digitalization and digital twin is kind of a scale, right? So probably representing the smallest sector up here, you do laser scanning. I have a laser pointer and a scanner. But digitalization is the thing for us. And so a digital twin to me, I may not ever have a full working digitalized model of my facility, but we absolutely use virtualization, VMware, technologies like that. I can do patch management. I can spin up a server and run some patch tests on it without touching my production environment. I have a PLC simulator, so some of our controllers, I can run simulations and run code changes on it. To me, that may be as high as I ever get with a digital twin, but we're already doing it. So I love sitting in these conferences looking at the big picture problems of how to digitize and thinking, I would love to help give away the stuff we have, because everything we have is FOIA requestable. So you can get anything you want from us. We don't hide it. But it is a scaled version.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, again, it's not all or nothing, right? I mean, the benefits of this concept of a digital twin don't come all at the end once everything's 100% perfectly modeled. There's all sorts of basically sub-applications along the way to that. So depending on what business case and problems you're trying to solve, it might not make sense to try to laser scan your equipment and get a 3D model. That might not be very helpful for every organization. Maybe, the biggest bang for the buck for them was more on the predictive analytics side, or maybe it was just the accessibility of information that was previously, not widely distributed amongst the operators, or whatever it is, right? So yeah, it's all shades of gray, and just pick a technology that you can keep building on as you find more and more use cases, and start with the most valuable use case first.
The only thing I'll add to everything is keep it simple. And I think about the sustainment, whatever you're planning to doing, because that's the critical part.
So I like the fact that, as Jason mentioned, that there's a variety of perspectives and opinions here. And that allows me to make 2 points. One of which is that there are 2 levels in sort of digital transformation, if you will. There's the ability to get and share data, which Jason is doing, and I think all of these gentlemen are doing. And that delivers tremendous value. You don't have to apply machine learning and advanced analytics, et cetera, on top of that to get a lot of value. So that's really step one. The next step is, yeah, sure, you might want to look at machine learning and advanced analytics because you can see things that you couldn't see before with that. And so, think of it again as a journey and understand where you're at and what you're trying to get at. The second point I would make is that, I think Paula would agree with this, that digital twin doesn't necessarily mean a 3D image of your machine or your plant. It's about the data and really that virtual representation of your assets and your machine. Now that said, it's useful to have, as long as humans are part of the equation, we're visual people, so having that 3D representation can be very powerful, but you should also think about it in terms of just the data and integrating the data. Hence this panel, right? It's IT, OT, ET integration. When you bring all that together, you've got that digital twin, even without the visualization.
Jeff, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I would say, the concept is clearly applicable across the board, and I can see even within Evonik in the different business lines where it can be different levels of complexity based on, where it brings value. So I think the concept is valuable and should be approached.
Okay. Thank you for your patience. Your turn.
Thanks. I'm going to come back to Jason. This is a super cool, getting some data from the web and making decisions based on it, right? Super, tremendous time to value. So that's awesome. My question is sort of about lineage of that data, right? There's a lot of processing that data goes through that is not within your control at all. And I think it's a cool use case, but my question is around whether you're able to sort of satisfy yourself that the accuracy and authenticity of the data was intact, and maybe the timeliness too, right? I mean, we sort of saw a short-term trend. Did you ever see stale data, right? And that could that affect decision-making integrity? So
You might be aware there was a small government shutdown. We actually lost our feed from that. USGS's homepage said, sorry, we're not funded right now. So yes, we did, and we saw stale data. All right, like I said, this is a very fast proof of concept that went real within a week. There's a lot of metadata that they push out there as well, including, change tags, so they may have a disruption and they'll go back later and edit some of that data, and they push those changes out. But the script that we wrote, no, we weren't taking advantage of that at all at the time. It was truly, for us, we need some kind of monitoring on there, and that was literally the fastest thing we could put out. But when we saw the value and saw what was available, and talked with our SCADA vendor, the company, the framework we build on, they actually found it to be powerful enough of an idea and a concept, because we were willing to give away our code because we don't have anything proprietary. They actually came back and helped me build a stronger, more robust application. And we're able to actually go back and look at a little bit of the history and some of that. Because of I'm going to say the word life safety of nature of this, even though we're not calling any of the system truly life safety. But because of that, we're going back and actually putting a lot of monitoring in there in our own separate stuff. We're not relying 100% on the USGS data. But having that and having it for analytic ability was just fantastic for us. And it's opened up a lot of neat ideas. Does that answer? Thank you.
Anybody else? We have one.
Hi there, my name is Andrew Nix. My question is for Dwayne. I thought it was really interesting you talked about no customization, sustainability and no customization. And I come from the oil and gas background, and I think that's something that a lot of the larger oil companies actually struggle with because they'll wait and be late to the game to adopt a technology to make sure it's well vetted. But as soon as they get it, especially in software, they'll take it and start throwing in customized applications for it all over the place, and just brings them back to square one. And so I was curious for any of those guys that might be in the room, or for any of us trying to work with those types of organizations, how do you recommend, or where did that conversation start that got you to the point of no customization? Because I think that's a really powerful tool to have with you.
Yeah, that's and I'm learning lots in this IT field as well. I keep asking, are you sure we're not customizing? Yeah, we're not customized, but working with the vendor, the other thing is a bit of a partnership, because as we come up with these business problems we're trying to solve, they actually see the need industry-wide, so they actually will build this customization into their next upgrade. So technically, it's not a customization, so we have a bit of that. We have configurations, the templates that we have at different sites, just to bridge the gap from where they are now to where we want to get to. So over time, those enterprise templates will converge, but it's trying to find that balance. And the other key thing, which I thought was good at Suncor, we've never done it before, but no one changes the wiring in the tool until the change gets approved by the business. Like, we've actually had conversations with the business. So what's the business case? Like, this is going to cost me $1 million, and you've got a benefit of $300,000. Like, you're gonna have to continue working the way you're working, or maybe change some of your practices that you're doing, or maybe we have to change the organization a little bit to allow for that. So we actually have some heated discussions on some of those. So that was kind of big change for Suncor.
Anyone else?
I would just say the whole concept of no customizations and then working with the vendor to get it in the next patch. You're basically doing risk management by saying you're supporting this software, not me, because if you customize it, then you're supporting it. And that goes back to your question of how maintainable is anything.
In that regard, I believe that you get to standardization when you see more and more similar use cases among different users. So that's what ends up with standardization, because if you're a refiner, probably the KPIs from any other refiner are not going to be that different. So some of their use cases will be very similar use cases that somebody else has, and then we bring standard solutions, we bring stuff that now comes out of the box, but if you're just getting there, it is going to be a custom solution, because everybody has different needs. And you are in the discovery phase of your use cases. That's the point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any more? Okay, I've got one more that I think will probably eat up the rest of our time. For each of you, if you would, what would be the ideal sequence of activities for companies that want to implement a digital twin strategy?
I'll jump in on that one first. I kind of look at maybe, say, five ways per se, or 5 key elements. The first one being just recognize that need to change. I think there's that recognition, and say, I call it the case for change, but that education, that buy-in, that executive leadership, and so forth. I think that's fundamental to making sure your organization's kind of aligned on where you want to go. The other is actually just defining understanding where you are in your culture, your maturity, what that digital transformation means to you, and that end value to the people, the end users in your business. That's really important to really clearly understand that and get that executive leadership. To bring the people along. If you don't bring those people along in your journey and you're just feeding it down their throat, you will not be successful. That's been proven time and time again, right? So they need to be part of your journey. They need to have input on what that destination is going to be and how you're going to get there, because they're the ones that are going to make it real. Define what that roadmap looks like, communicate that roadmap, define the KPIs, I said it earlier. I think that's a very key part of it. And the last one is a little bit of resist that shiny toy, resist that piece of technology you think is just going to solve your problem, because as Dwayne's saying, in the Suncor world, it's about making sure you have that asset information and that foundational element in place. So resist that shiny toy, look at your standard, look at your processes, get your information, understand where you're going, and then implement the technology as your enabler.
Okay. Anybody else?
Sure. Since I come from a construction background, let me equate it to building a house. You need to know where you're going. So you need blueprints, right? Then you need to actually have steps and you need to construct, and you can do it in order. So I probably can't give every industry here the right steps, what key indicators to look for. But the most critical part that I didn't even mention, you have to start with a solid foundation. And that's the biggest thing. You know, I can tell you for me specifically, find low-hanging fruit, find an easy project, pick it and accomplish it. But I couldn't do any of what I have done without having adaptable, flexible technology at the forefront on my foundation, things that I'm able to work with and be flexible with. So once I started there, the rest of this has just been a natural extension.
Again, I love your practicality. Anyone else?
So I would say 3 steps, right? The first step is again, the organizational buy-in. So that's the first step, right? And again, has to come from the top. If the senior leadership isn't on board with this, I don't know where you're going to go with it, but it's going to be fits and starts for sure. The second step is, it's not so much choose your technology, but choose your partner or partners in this journey, right? Which is to Dwayne's point about no customization, and I like your definition of no customization, Dwayne, which is none of the vendors here, none of the vendors at this show have all the technology to bring this together today. And we all have different visions, and some of them are aligned with your industry and some of them are not. So pick a partner whose vision and strategy and roadmap is aligned with your vision, strategy, and roadmap, right? So again, that's not about picking a product, it's about picking partners in that journey. And the third step is to pick something to start with, again, and you've heard that across the board here, which is what's the low-hanging fruit? What can I do to prove out the concept and get further buy-in and show that this is absolutely what we have to do and where we have to go?
I think excellent advice.
All right. Hopefully, I'm not going to be labeled as a heretic here, but I'm going to offer
Go for it.
An alternate path. I've heard a lot up here about how the first step is total buy-in from the very top of executive, and that is a concept that, in my experience, is an extraordinarily slow concept. That'll slow down a project like crazy, and furthermore, it's sometimes difficult to get executive buy-in from the very top. And so not every organization works like that. And I would just offer as an alternative path, sometimes it's useful to just get something done and then use an example of a useful practical thing that you've done to demonstrate that path forward to executive. So maybe step 1 isn't knock on the CEO's door, because they might not want to listen unless you have something to show them rather than just something to tell them.
Mm-hmm. Like Jason's approach here. Jeff, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah,
Based
I'll
on
kind
your
of
deep experience.
Well, I'll kind of go with that idea that sometimes fast failure beats no progress at all. And having something improve, having something asking for permission after you've been able to show some type of progress, because you do it if the culture's not right to support the change or the new direction. Connecting it back to the why, you can get a lot more buy-in from that side if it supports a business initiative or a business goal. And I would say, take that path. Look for the solution you can provide. The technology is down here at the bottom somewhere, but driving it to a usable solution in a quicker fashion to give competitive advantage is where we have to stay.
Yeah. If you build a solution that people can't live without, you have more bargaining chips when you're trying to convince executive.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have a thought on that?
I don't know if I have anything more really to add. I think everybody's covered it, but just really understand the prize. Like, what is it you're going after? Understand where you are now in that journey, and collaboration. Not any one of us have the actual solution. You have to have all the right people in a room and work out that solution together. And the KISS principle for sustainment, can't emphasize that enough.
Good advice. Well, how about those of you who remain? Big hand for our speakers and panelists. I think they did a great job. A lot of great insight.